Yeah, well, that's definitely a long story from Tirreno of last year. Um, I was struggling a lot just in the week to get through the race. It was, last year in that sort of spring season, we had a lot of really cold, rainy weather, and Tirreno was the same. And so there were many days, 6, 7 hours, that was just raining the whole time, and I was just kind of started here and started just going down and down. And the last stage was the time trial, so that was like my carrot that I was aiming for. And however, the penultimate stage was, one of the most difficult parcours or courses, that the peloton has really ever seen. People still talk about it this year as being one of the hardest stages that they've ever done. It was almost even harder than a one-day classic like Flanders last weekend, just with the amount of ups and downs. We had to do this 33% climb, 2 times. There were numerous other climbs that were 20-25%, short, but still, when you're tired, you can't. It's impossible to make it up. So I knew from the start that it was going to be a big ask for me to make it to the finish with the gruppetto, but I was pretty dead set on making it to that next day for the time trial. So we started, and it was great weather, and it was sunny out, and immediately start uphill, and right from the gun I'm already dropped, and then even worse, suffer a mechanical and have to change my bike, and the breakaway still hasn't gone, so the field is going full gas, and I am just already out the back with a different bike, just struggling from maybe 10K into the race, and it was 209K, I think, total. So I was like, well, this is going to be a long day. However, with the help of Steve Cummings, I made it back into the main peloton, and from then just kind of survival mode commenced, and I got about 90K in with the main group until we hit this 30-some% climb for the first time, and then it was groups of riders getting dropped, and I was thinking, oh, this is good. It's going to be a long day, but if there's a big group of us, we're all going to make it. And the only problem was that with 90K to go, or 100-some K to go, we passed through the finish line. So there's, everybody has their buses on each side of the road, and the non-time trialists, they have no real reason to just ride another 110K. But I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just kind of talking to the guys, and they're like, oh, we're going to stop, and we're going to stop. And I was like, well, wait, but what about, finishing the race? And I sort of pulled this whole group of like 40, 50 guys, and nobody wanted to finish the race. And I was like, dang it. And I just said, well, I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll catch a group in front of me. Maybe not, but I want to do this time trial on the last day. That's what I came here for. I want to do this. So set out, still setting out, but as I passed the finish line to go on this, this last big loop by myself, the cloud just kind of just like in a movie, the clouds just darken, and it just starts to rain, and the temperature drops like 5-6 degrees. And I'm just like, oh man, this is not going to be fun. But I just kept going and just kept riding. I had Fabio in the team car behind me, and just was pushing on. And the first hour and a half or so by myself was not too bad. I was just riding. I could kind of see the race, the helicopter. It was there. I was quite far behind, but I was, still could manage to see that there was a race actually going on that I was a part of. But once I started to get really cold, I started to get pretty dark, pretty sad. But I started to think a lot about my dad. He has Parkinson's. He's had Parkinson's since 2000, and I started to think of the kind of struggle that he goes through, just on a daily basis, from waking up to taking a shower to just eating food. You know, and he's been suffering with this disease for 14 years now, and so I started to think, well, hey, you know, if my dad was out here and he had the chance to be perfectly healthy and be in my position, you know, 20 minutes off the back of one of the hardest bike race stages that I've ever done, he would trade me for that position in a heartbeat. And so I thought, yeah, there's no way I can step off my bike. I have to make it to the finish line no matter what. Because I started to think about my dad so much that I was like, you know, need to honor him and need to honor just the sport and the fact that I signed up for this and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish this race. And so I just kept going and just kept pushing on, and it was a long, long way. There was a nice moment when I was coming down one of the numerous descents, and I look over to my left across this kind of valley, and I see like about 2 kilometers worth of traffic on the side of this hill coming down. I was like, "Ooh, that really sucks for those people." And then I realized as I get down the descent that they are all stopped because of me, because I'm the last guy in this bike race, and the roads are still closed, and I've got the broom wagon behind me, and it's just me on the back by myself, and all these people, their whole day has been delayed for me. And I was like, oh man, you know, why am I doing this? But then started to think back to my dad, and I was like, you know what, these roads would be closed anyways if this was somebody else, so I'm gonna keep going. And finally made it to the finish, but I was 2 or 3 minutes out of time delay. I was like 39 minutes down. But by that point, you know, I knew the ride was less about trying to make it to the time trial and more about, you know, sort of proving something to myself and honoring, you know, my dad, because I was thinking about him, and honoring the sport and the race. So I wasn't too distraught, but I was definitely quite empty and got a bit emotional in the evening when I was sort of reliving the events. But it's just kind of a special memory to have, and a special story to be able to tell your kids one day. My dad has so many stories from his racing days, and they all involve him being off the back by himself or with somebody else, and just suffering through these epic monumental days. So it's interesting because I can be the last guy and us all the way off the back, and then that next weekend I got 7th in Milan San Remo. So it's a strange sport that way. Well, I mean, there's the guys that I idolize. If I'm thinking about who I'd like to trade spots with, you know, like Boonen or Cancellara, but more than anything, I look at a guy like Peter Sagan and the ease that he kind of has with winning races, it seems. He just somehow he can kind of switch on and commit to getting over really as long a climb as he wants to and make it to the finish and be able to sprint for the win. So when I see that, I'm like, that would be a nice power to have. But I don't think too much about the other guys. I think I'm in a pretty sweet position myself. I don't have much to complain about, and I know that I do have a big future ahead of me. You know, it would be cool to trade places with Cancellara for this weekend and have his acceleration and his ability to read a race and win a race like this weekend. But you know, it's kind of getting to the later stages of his career. So I think I can get there just with being myself, and so I'm excited about that. But yeah, if I could just sprint away from anybody and do my own celebrations like Sagan, that would be kind of cool. But you never know. Give me a couple of years. Don't know where I'll be.
Well, Taylor, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck for this weekend. Good luck for the rest of the season, and you know, I hope this is the first of many interviews in your career.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the one.
Sweet.